Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Biology Daily Booster. This is number 21 and actually the penultimate Daily Booster for Paper 1 of Biology. This is an advanced information listed topic for those of you doing foundation biology. It's not explicitly listed for those of you doing higher tier, but as we know, anything could come up this summer, so it's still important. What we're going to do in today's booster then is we're going to be having a look at the kidney and its role in regulating water levels in our body. So first of all, go with the basics. How does water enter and how does water leave the body? It enters through your food and drink mainly, and also it's a product of respiration. It will leave your body when you sweat, through urine, and every time you breathe out through that process of exhalation. One term we should be aware of is the word excretion, which is just the process in which we remove waste products from our bodies. So why do we care how much water is in our body? Well, if we've got too much water present in our blood plasma, then what's going to happen is that water is going to move into the blood cells and cause them to undergo lysis, or they will burst. If we've got too little water present in our blood plasma, then what we're going to find is water is going to be drawn out of those blood cells and they're then going to shrink and shrivel. Neither scenario is good in terms of the functioning of our body. So we need to control our water levels to make sure neither of those things actually happens. One of the things that we are going to be making as a result of this control is the substance urine. So urine, quite simply, is the solution containing water, urea, and the other waste substances. And the reason that we need to get rid of these things is some of them are toxic. Urea is a good example of one of these toxic chemicals that we make in our body that we've got to get rid of. So the urea itself is then going to be filtered from the blood by the kidneys, and then it's going to trickle down into the bladder, which will store the urine until obviously we go to a toilet. Just as well we have a bladder, otherwise leaky little trails everywhere you walk and everyone smells a little bit, which wouldn't be great. The type of urine you make is very much determined by how much fluid you've taken into your body. So if you've not drunk enough, then what you're going to find is you're only going to make a small volume of urine and it's going to be quite concentrated. So that generally means it gets darker in colour. If you've drunk loads of water, then you're going to produce a much larger volume and it's going to be dilute. So that means the colour chart there, it will be quite pale in colour. So you can see the top three are your nice and hydrated, so they're the palest colours, that's good. You do not want to be getting into the dark ones, and you certainly do not want to be getting down towards the very dark brown, almost black colours. That's where you are at serious risk of very serious illness, stroke, death. So hopefully no one's going there. Let's look at the kidney then. We're going to start off with the growth structure. So we've got three bits of kidney we need to know about. We have the capsule, which is around the outside, this outer membrane that keeps it in shape and helps protect it from damage. The cortex, which is the next bit in, and that's the outer part of the kidney itself. And finally the medulla, which is the inner part of the kidney. So those are the three bits that you need to know: capsule, cortex, medulla. What we're now going to do is zoom in, because inside the kidney we've got about 1 million of these structures called nephrons. Now the nephron is the individual filtration unit of the kidney, so about 1 million in each kidney. What we find is, if we look at the structure of it, then the top of the nephron is located in the cortex, so the outer part of the kidney there, and the lower section, which is made up of this loop of Henle, for example, that goes down into the medulla. So we start on the outer bit of the kidney and then they drop down to the inner part. If we look at the little picture on the right, we can see there are a few key features. First of all, the red bits are blood vessels, and obviously blue bits also making part of the blood vessel there. So we're going to bring in blood to the structure called a glomerulus. The glomerulus sits in the Bowman's capsule. The Bowman's capsule connects on to the PCT, or proximal convoluted tubule. That then goes down into the loop of Henle, to the distal convoluted tubule, and then into the collecting duct. They have asked about the PCT before, so make sure you remember that after the Bowman's capsule, it goes into the PCT, or proximal convoluted tubule. We're now going to have a little look in a bit more detail about the process of what's happening. As the blood enters then, if we look at this little diagram here, so the blood is going to enter through this little vessel, and it's going to do so under high pressure. Now, when it goes into the glomerulus, which is this knot of capillaries, it's under a high enough pressure to literally push substances out of the blood. So what it does is it's going to force out these small molecules, water, glucose, the urea, etc. And it comes out of the blood and into this structure called the Bowman's capsule. So high pressure in the glomerulus forces the small substances out of the blood and into the Bowman's capsule. Anything too big, like the blood cells, they can't be forced out, so they stay in the capillary itself. Now, this whole process of basically forcing certain things out of the blood is called ultrafiltration, because realistically what we're doing is we're pushing through small things through little tiny gaps in the walls into the structure of our nephron. Next, that filtrate is going to move from the Bowman's capsule into the PCT, proximal convoluted tubule. And as it keeps moving on through this tubule, what's going to happen is certain things are going to be reabsorbed. So all of the glucose is taken back up into the blood, as well as a certain amount of water and some of the salts that we need. Because we're not taking everything back in, this is a process called selective reabsorption. We're only reabsorbing key bits. From there, it then goes into this structure called the loop of Henle, which is that bit that dips all the way down in that U shape. Now, the loop of Henle is going to be different lengths depending on the creature and where it's designed to live. So if you think about desert creatures, they've got a really long loop of Henle because that ties into how much water you reabsorb. You can see next to the loop of Henle is a structure called the collecting duct that runs parallel to it. And basically those regions are where we're going to absorb the extra salt and water that we need. What we're going to do is we'll finish off looking at how we control this whole thing in our next booster. So for today, that's what we're going to finish on. Head over to have a go at the quiz, double check your understanding of the first part of our kidney. If obviously there are bits you're still not sure on, you can go to the main video on the channel, or you can use your revision guides to support you. Don't forget to join us again tomorrow to finish off the kidney to understand how this whole thing is controlled.